We're back, people. We are back. Your favorite. And I promise you, I declare to you, anything. I'm never lying when I say this. Your favorite sports podcast, roaming the airways, rolling with Ramos, is back. I happen to be the one that holds the last name Ramos. As always, I would like to specifically thank my daddy for that one. Mike Ramos in heaven, I love you very, very much. I miss you every single day, even right now. Episode 116. Now, we told y'all we were going to start switching things up a little bit. So instead of getting rolling with Ramos once a week in one whole hour, maybe hour and a half show, depending on what we got to talk about, we're giving you 2 parts of each episode every week. So you listen to part 1 of the Pat LaFontaine edition. Shout out to him. And if you didn't, make sure you go back tonight. You're tuned in to part 2 of the Pat LaFontaine edition. And as always, never to be left without, he handles everything. I just literally get on here and talk. Where would I be without him? But he listens to my inputs. So I'm proud. Tristan, the star. Welcome back, baby.
What's going on? This is definitely something new, but I like the idea. I like the thought, having 2 parts in the week. Y'all see our faces twice as much. Y'all get twice the news, and this is good. I dig it. I like it a lot.
Let's stay in real time, shall we? Because we'll get off a show on Tuesday. Something breaks on Wednesday. We can't talk about it until next Tuesday.
Yeah, exactly.
This helps out tremendously. Make sure you go and follow us on all our social media platforms. You can click on the links in all of them with the link tree, because we are going live now on Facebook. Simultaneously right now, we are live VE. Hi, how you doing? I'm Mikkel. Anyways, we are live on Twitter, Facebook.
Yep.
Instagram. We're waiting for y'all to jump on the bandwagon.
Instagram got to get it together.
Y'all's going to do it.
They got to get it together.
But we are live on both platforms. Let's get right into this thing, shall we, Tristan? First of all, make sure you all, as we are talking right now, the WNBA draft is right now. Shout out to Charlie Collier. Number 1, baby. She's going to the Wings. So make sure y'all stay watching that, and make sure y'all celebrate these beautiful, wonderful ladies, the WNBA. And just in case y'all want to talk about how nobody's watching women's basketball and it's a fluke, it's a joke, numbers don't lie. People were paying attention, and their numbers were big. Anyways, we go to the NBA. It don't get nothing better. It gets nothing better than Luka Magic, Tristan. Luka Doncic, according to Yahoo Sports, the Dallas Mavericks star stunned the Memphis Grizzlies on Wednesday with the most ridiculous of game winners, an off-balance, one-footed buzzer-beating 3-point floater to give the Mavs a 114-113 win. With 1.8 seconds remaining, Dallas inbounded the ball to Doncic, who was immediately picked up by Dylan Brooks. Somehow, Doncic squirmed around the defender, leaped forward, and heaved a shot that had no business going in. But guess what? It went in.
Right.
The wizardry of the final play of another strong performance by Doncic, because he had one hell of a game, Tristan, of course. He posted 29 points on 10 of 20 shooting, 3 of 10 from deep with 9 assists, 5 rebounds, and 2 steals. He did his thing, respectively. The win was pivotal for the 30-24 Mavericks, who put a full game between them and the Grizzlies for 7th place in the West and keep themselves in contention to avoid the play-in tournament. The Portland Trailblazers sit only a game ahead of the 6th place. Tristan, Luka, how do we describe him? It just keeps getting better and better and better and better. His career is going to be a long one.
It's going to be a long career. This is, in baseball, we have a concept that's called when you see a guy that's maybe not the greatest athlete of the world or whatever, they say he has an old man game. Has an old man game. It's all fundamentals. Everything's fundamentals. Everything is how by the book. And when I look at Luka play, I feel like he has an old man game. It's all fundamentals, but there's this little pizzazz, this little magic that takes place, and it's when you watch him, it's not like he's blazing from one side of the court to the other side of the court. He's not doing no crazy leaps in the air for slam dunks or he don't got the ball handles of Kyrie Irving and dazzling you and anything like that. But it just looks like he's at a different gear. It doesn't look fast, but on the floor, I mean, he had John Morant on skates a couple times. I mean, it was just like it's just a different. It's like everybody else is playing in one dimension and he's playing in a whole other dimension. I mean, to do a floater like that to win the game, I mean, you really just put up a prayer and hoping it goes in. But I feel like for him, that wasn't the case. I feel like he meant to do that. Like he meant to put that out there like that. Like it's just crazy watching Luka play basketball. It's amazing, and I'm just he's fun to watch. They got to get a little better as an overall team. Because you look at the Mavs record, it's not that great. But watching him is definitely a box office situation.
When you were speaking, you were talking about it's not this. He doesn't have this big game. It's not like you're looking for something. Like it's not like you're looking for the speed or the velocity through the lane. It sounds like he's just fundamentally playing basketball, but like you said, in a different gear. It sounds like Tim Duncan 2.0.
Yeah.
No. Someone that, cause what, it's like, what lane do you put him in? He's taking his own lane.
Well, a lot of people called him like baby Larry Bird, and I'm not going to be here to like put him in that class yet. He's still young. I mean, my dad was a big time Larry Bird fan. So
how did that happen and you evolved? But that's okay.
Hey, listen, I don't know, but it happened like that. He's a big time Larry Bird fan. I don't know how I wasn't a Celtics fan because he's a big time Larry Bird fan. But so I know him watching, he'd be like, "You're speaking blasphemous right now." But I'm looking at it as Larry Bird was the same way. It was just kind of smooth. He wasn't the most athletic guy on the court or anything. It was just kind of smooth, but he got the job done in a way that no one could check him. And that's what you're seeing from Luka. Like, it's really impressive watching him play, I'm telling you. And he's so young. I think people forget how young Luka is.
You talk about the Mavericks and you talk about the fact that overall as a team, I don't know where Mark Cuban is spending his bucks, but if you got a blockbuster guy like this, you got to build around him. A lot of people saying that his claim to fame won't be till he's able to leave Dallas. But when you put them in this playoff hunt, we're going to keep looking at the same thing over and over. He's going to have to exhaust all his possibilities, but it still won't be enough, correct?
Yeah, I mean, that's really going to be the issue right now. That's really going to be the challenge. You're just looking at the fact that the overall team, right now is just not doing their part. They're just not doing their job. And so now you're wondering, I'm sure Mark Cuban, who is not afraid to spend money, I'm sure Mark Cuban is trying to figure out what to do, how to improve the team, how to make this work. Because right now it's kind of a struggle. So I mean, you got Porzingis, you got Luka, you got some good role players. So it should be clicking, but it's not. So we got to figure out something else.
We're just hoping this doesn't. Dirk Nowitzki and everything he did for Dallas, he deserves a statue there, of course.
Oh, he's definitely getting a statue.
But the longevity of his career and what he did in Dallas, and sometimes it 1 year was right on the right foot. Next year it wasn't, but they were always contenders. Mark Cuban never could give him that extra oomph to get them. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, when you think about the outlier year they had when they beat the Miami Heat in the finals. I mean, but look who was on that squad. You had Jason Terry. You had a bunch of like kind of rough riders to go with Dirk, and but it was an outlier because I think they were terrible. Like the next year, they were terrible. Like Mark Cuban has to figure out what's going to be a consistent formula because you don't want this kid that as young as he is, he could be playing for next what, 15 years, possibly, depending on how his body holds up. I mean, he's been playing professional basketball since he was in diapers. So, I mean, depending on how his body holds up, we got to see. But you got to be able to put something around that and make that become a legitimate contender in the West.
Because you don't want to see that go. I don't want to be the guy that makes Luka demand a trade.
I don't.
I definitely don't want to be that guy. If you're listening to us, make sure you drop those comments down below. Ask us, we're asking you to tell us how you like the new format. Do you enjoy the double dose of Ramos twice a week? Is this giving you more of what you want? We're going to continue to go down this timeline, Tristan. We stay in basketball, and we talked about him last week. I mean, well, not last week, but last show. I got to get used to this too. But last show, and it's always this remembrance, but it's always boom, 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 boom. It's more news that's coming out.
Right.
As if there was any doubt, and as if this isn't the only decision. The only other decision would be his family. Maybe Shaq. But this is the best decision. Michael Jordan will present Kobe Bryant in the 2020 Basketball Hall of Fame induction ceremony May 15th.
It's appropriate. I mean, the closest thing to Michael Jordan, I will always say that. I will always say the closest thing to Michael. I think deep down, Michael might never say it, but I think deep down, even Michael will say, "Hey, if you put me up against the wall and you told me I had to choose and say who was me, it's that guy." You know, it literally like his twin. So I find it appropriate. I'm sure it was a decision that, you know, they included Vanessa in to choose. But it's appropriate. It's appropriate because the closest thing to Michael is Kobe Bryant. So it's completely appropriate that it's him. Like I agree with you. The only other person I would have thought would have been appropriate to welcome him into the Hall of Fame would have been Shaq.
Yeah.
So absolutely. I think this is going to be great. I think Jordan will be. We saw how he was at his memorial service. I'm sure he's going to be amazing with him for this moment as well.
It sucks because when he passed away and you get past the funeral and everything like that, everyone's talking about that Hall of Fame speech. And to have to revisit the fact that we're still not going to get Kobe's words.
Yeah.
It still sucks because that would have been one hell of a speech, I tell you. It
sucks. It definitely would have been one for the books. It would have been right up there with Michael Jordan for sure. So that would have been great. And I see Kevin commented, he said, for sentimental value, I think it definitely could have been Shaq. It definitely could have been cool, but again, I'm cool with it being Michael. I'm cool with it being Michael. It's fine. It definitely would have been nice if it had been Shaq, for sure. But I can deal with that. Deal with it being Michael Jordan. But that speech was going to be definitely one for the books for sure.
There's so many pieces. You could say his family. You could say Michael Jordan. You could say Shaq and that closeness. I could also say Phil Jackson. I mean, but Phil Jackson's not that talkative kind of guy. But in understanding Kobe, there's nobody that understood him better.
For sure.
So it's just so many factors. But again, the unfortunate of what is unfortunate when you lose somebody is that you don't get his words, and that would have been the most. Talk about I'm not going to work the next day. I'm watching.
Oh, I'm watching. I'm watching. I'm not missing a single piece of that.
The only other speech I didn't miss. I thought Allen Iverson's speech, to see him up there the way he was.
That was great.
I thought that was an excellent speech, and I thought he was. And I get tongue-tied and emotional when he turns to Coach Thompson, and now that Coach Thompson's gone, it's just crazy. Tristan, things have changed. I know, as you can see, I move on topic to topic. I always just say your name, because I'm talking to you. We friends here. But things have changed. We talked about the roster that is the Brooklyn Nets That roster has changed a little bit.
It's changed.
Personal reasons. As of today, LeMarcus Aldridge is no longer in the NBA. Brooklyn Nets center LeMarcus Aldridge announced on Twitter that he will be retiring from the NBA after experiencing an irregular heartbeat during his final appearance with the team. For 15 years, I've put basketball first, Aldridge wrote, and now it is time to put my health and family first. Aldridge, who is 35, said he experienced the irregular heartbeat during the Nets game against the Los Angeles Lakers on Saturday, a game that everybody was looking for a heavyweight bout. He didn't get it, sorry. After which his condition worsened. The next morning, I told the team what was going on, and they were great getting me to the hospital, Aldridge wrote. Though I'm better now, what I felt with my heart that night was still one of the most scariest things I've experienced. Aldridge had missed the Nets' past 2 games with what the team called a non-COVID-19 illness. In 2007, Aldridge was diagnosed with Wolff-Parkinson-White syndrome, an electrical pathway between your heart's upper and lower chambers that causes a rapid heartbeat, according to the Mayo Clinic. It is not clear if Aldridge's recent scare is related to that condition. Aldridge signed with the Nets on March 28th after agreeing to a buyout with the San Antonio Spurs, where he had spent the previous 5.5 seasons. The 7-time All-Star spent the first 9 years of his career with the Portland Trail Blazers. I, for one, understand how it is to have a heart condition and have to put everything else to the back burner for it. Right. Me having open heart surgery at 3 months to what is called a condition of tetralogy of Fallot, which is associated with babies. Right. I have lived with an irregular heartbeat my whole life. I box, I run, but I have a good life, but everything turns up a scare. You have to take that extra necessary precaution. I did get vaccinated, but one of the big things that I was afraid to get vaccinated was my heart and what it would do to my heart. I don't want to get COVID-19 because I don't want it to affect my heart. If I go to the dentist, I have to take medicine to go to a dentist because I don't want it to affect me that much. Right. I've had to take a lot of precautions, so I understand where he is coming from. First off, Tristan, how will we remember LeMarcus Aldridge? Granted, the last couple of years after Portland, we found him going to a situation in San Antonio where we thought that him and Tony Parker would go hand in hand. Well, Kawhi Leonard, excuse me, that did not happen. And everybody said that he was not that second-tier star that everybody thought he was in Portland to a degree. How will we remember LeMarcus Aldridge? One, and this whole bigger than basketball thing, this bigger than the athlete thing, we've pushed it as far as rights in this country and protesting and things of that nature and athletes having a voice. How big is it when it comes to health as well? And I'm pretty sure Kyrie Irving will have a lot to say about that.
So let me be honest.
Okay.
I heard he retired. First of all, let me put this out there. Absolutely fully agreed with his decision. No issue, no problem. He did the right thing. Your health is far more important than your career. I understand how major it is. I know it was a tough decision for him, but he made the absolute right decision. And I wish him well. I said it on Twitter. I was like, I wish him well in retirement. And I even more so, more importantly, wish him well on life, period. So let me put that out there. Now, to go more on the basketball side. I was listening to people talk about it. I was at work, shout out to my job. I'm able to listen to sports stuff while I'm working there.
Never out of the loop.
And I'm listening to people talk, they're like, man, fantastic career. Great 15-year career. It was amazing. This, that, and the third. And I was like, was it really that great? Was it really that amazing? And the reason why is because the LeMarcus Aldridge that's in my head was the LeMarcus Aldridge that was with the Spurs. And I remember when that transaction came through. I remember when it was like the sweepstakes of who was going to get LeMarcus Aldridge from the Trailblazers. And I remember like trying to, beat my hand on the table, trying to find reasons why he should come to LA and pair with Bron. And I remember all that excitement. I remember him going to the Spurs, and I thought it was terrible because I was like, man, they just lost Tim Duncan. Now they're going to go pick up LeMarcus Aldridge. Like, what is this? It's not fair. And he didn't pan to be the guy that I expected him to be, right?
Yeah.
So in my mind, that's what I have of LeMarcus Aldridge in my head. I had to go back. I literally sat and I looked at YouTube, and I had to look at LeMarcus Aldridge, like prime LeMarcus Aldridge with the Trailblazers, and how much of a dog he was, and how much of a buck. You want to talk about a guy that could go in and out between going into the paint and coming out mid-range, and then even had an outside shot on occasion and play defense. Like, I forgot he was such a dog. I really forgot how much of a dog LeMarcus Aldridge was. And I know part of the issue was the fact that people were saying when Dame got drafted, people I guess LeMarcus Aldridge was realizing like the team was kind of pulling away from him and it was becoming Dame's team, and he didn't like it. That was part of the reason why he wanted to be out of Portland. But I forgot how much of a dog he was. I mean, I'm looking back at when Brendan Roy was still there and all that stuff. I mean, and I was just like, wow, like he was really a dog. And then when you look at his numbers, you're like, yeah, man, you had a heck of a career, bro. Like you were legit, you know. And
in his time in San Antonio, when you look at 5 years, it's short, but those 5 years kind of put a stain.
It stained him.
Yeah.
It stained him. And so for me, I looked at it as if I could feel like that, someone that pays attention and watches sports as often as I do, how does the casual fan look at him? You know what I'm saying? So it was just like, man, like I didn't really realize how much of a dog he was, how great he was. And so now I'm just like, man, you really had a great career. And I'm sorry that you know, on a team that more than likely will probably get the championship and you had to retire. That's unfortunate.
You know what it sounds like? You're saying it's like we got a chance to watch Kobe in his whole beauty. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But this generation after us saw the end of Kobe. So they're probably saying you need to hang it up. But they haven't seen what we used to see. Just like the generation before us saw Mike. But we saw him in 98 and thought that was greatness. That The Last Dance purely showed you there was more to it than what we was in diapers not being able to see.
Yeah.
So that's what it kind of sounds like with LeMarcus Aldridge. If you missed those Portland years, you would have thought these San Antonio years were his years.
That's what he was.
Now you're looking at a veteran who's just trying to get back in the scheme of things and get something before he's gone. But really, he's not that. He's had some good times. I mean, 7-time All-Star, you don't get that from being nothing.
Exactly. And I could just, you know, and just like Kevin said in the comment, I actually even bring it up again. It was the thought of what he would have contributed. This is actually perfect. What he would have provided for them in the playoffs. Imagine, because this was the first time where he didn't have to be the man. He just had to be a part of the team. Imagine how he would have flourished then, you know, doing that and being that kind of person. So, yeah, man, like I said, he made the right decision. Congrats on a great career. I'm sorry that I forgot. I'm gonna put that on myself. I forgot. But congrats on a great career, and I wish him well in his health. And I'm glad he still made the decision, because those are things that's not to play with, as you know, Miguel, personally. So
he's 35, Tristan. We've seen early retirements, but we have not seen it in the NBA on this type of level. We've seen it in the NFL. They're dropping like flies early in their career. Not even, you can't even say in their prime, but 34, 35, 36, 37. They're saying bye-bye to football. In the NBA, now you're having guys like Kyrie Irving taking days off because he feels like he has to get himself together to go play. You're getting mental health days. You're getting LeMarcus Aldridge retiring because of a health condition. You're getting Kevin Love looking at panic attacks and what it can do to him on the court, and maybe him not wanting to do this and to be as far as this anymore. Will this continue in the NBA? Is he a part of that retiring early trend now, or was this just something that just happened in an instant and it was a decision?
it just happened. When you look at when he told the story, he played the game, he went home, he had an irregular heartbeat that startled him, and they took him to the hospital the next day. The team got him to the hospital the next day. That was not a, I've been contemplating this for a while. He wasn't looking to retire. He was looking to get a championship. So I'm not going to look at it like that. Like the only ones we've seen that had to retire like that is they either had an injury or you had a situation like LeMarcus Aldridge with a heart problem. Chris Bosh with the clots. It had to be something that was out of their control, and it was literally a matter of a maybe life and death situation. I mean, look what happened. I mean, look what happened to our guy, right? You know, right here from the DMV, Jeff Green.
Yeah.
That he had that surgery that probably took years off him, and he's still productive on the Nets. So could imagine how he felt with LeMarcus Aldridge because he's on the Nets team and he's fortunate enough to be able to continue his career. But look how productive Jeff Green has been since he's been in the league. He would have been even. I watched him as a freshman in high school, so I followed his entire career up. The Jeff Green you see today is not the Jeff Green that he was before that surgery. We would be talking about Jeff Green the same way that we talk about how we talk about Dame, how we talk about how we talk about Durant, how we talk about some of these like superstars. That was Jeff Green's ability. People forget when Kevin Durant got drafted by the Supersonics at the time. Part of the idea for Seattle was that you had Kevin Durant to play small forward, and Jeff Green was going to be your power forward, and that was supposed to be the duo for Seattle. People forget about that. So don't like these heart issues that people come up that have and that come into play. It is real. It is something that is literally a life or death situation. And like I said, I mean, I'm only speaking it from the outside in. I mean, you have personal experience with this, with what you had to go through. So it's like we can't take this stuff lightly. That's why I keep reiterating. I'm so glad that LeMarcus Aldridge did this. I'm so glad that he thought of his life, he thought of his family, before basketball. And one thing I will say that you brought up as far as do you think it'd be a trend? I don't think this in particular will be a trend because I think this was just an outlier moment. But what will be a trend, and it's already a trend, is that athletes are thinking about life after sports.
Yeah.
They know that there's something towards the end. And when they realize that their bodies can't take no more, they're not going to get themselves to the point where they're broken up. We love Earl Campbell. Earl Campbell played for the Houston Oilers, running back, Hall of Fame. We love Earl Campbell. Earl Campbell could barely walk. Earl Campbell banged that body until he couldn't take anymore. Eddie George wasn't going to go through that. Steven Jackson wasn't going to go through that. Even Jim Brown wasn't going to go through that. These, you're going to get athletes. It's not really new. You got some guys that are just like, nah, there's more I can do after my sport life. Tiki Barber retiring because he didn't want to take the pounding anymore. It's just it happens where now they're just thinking beyond. And for something like this, absolutely. And no one should ever say anything negative about it.
What's the use of running up and down a field or a court if I can't even run with my children afterwards? I'm nothing. I'm an invalid my last couple. And when you think of that, you mean if I'm retiring at 37, 38, 39, I'm still young to some degree of what people consider young in this country. So from 40 on, I'm old age.
That's the thing. People look at it as we've seen these guys and they're like, oh, they've been playing for 15 years, 16 years, 20 years. And we're like, oh man, they're ancient. Yeah, sports wise, but they're like, we're in our early 30s. These guys are retiring from their sports careers around our age. It's so much more life to go. And you want them to keep pounding their body. You want them to keep putting themselves through all the rigors of the off season, the training, the games. You want them to keep doing that when they have all this life to live? No, get what you can get, do what you can do, and then be done. And be able to, like you said, be able to run and play with your kids without having aches and pains, without getting up every morning. Do you know the amount of athletes that have retired that every day they got to take some kind of painkiller? Every day. Every day.
Get what a towel is if you're talking about CT and all that
And,
stuff.
I mean, there's just so much, there's so much more. And the more knowledge that we're gaining, the more technology is advancing, the more we're learning is more of these guys are understanding like my sport life is this much of a window, but my whole life is big. And I have to be smart about what I do in this small window because after that closes, I have all this other life to go.
And it's crazy because I love Muhammad Ali, but you see what boxing did to Muhammad Ali, giving him Parkinson's. How a guy that spent his entire career talking and to have such a grand voice, he just became this monumental figure without one after a while.
Exactly. Could you imagine
if he could still talk in this day and
Yes.
age, and the things that he would have been able to say
Yes.
even before he passed away? There was things going on around, and to be able, and how great it would have been to have his opinion, but we couldn't have it because he gave us his body before his mind.
Yes. Yes.
Woo. Take a deep breath. We went to church real quick. Anyways, another
No, we
decision
did.
that was made, Tristan, and hopefully this is the right decision. These shows, these 2-part segments are so quick. I'm not used to the fact that I don't have nothing to talk about. But this last decision, hopefully it's a good decision for this guy. Jadeveon Clowney, if you were watching the news today. Free agent pass rusher Jadeveon Clowney has signed a 1-year deal with Cleveland Browns. It was announced Wednesday. That was yesterday. The deal is worth up to $10 million, a source told ESPN's Adam Schefter. Clowney will have an opportunity to thrive playing opposite fellow former number 1 overall pick Myles Garrett. I've been getting double teamed an awful lot in this league in my career, Clowney said during his virtual news conference. I'm looking forward to playing with somebody dominant on the other side in Myles Garrett who can draw a double team. Maybe I can go one-on-one more. Clowney, Tristan, has struggled in 2020 with Tennessee, finishing with 19 tackles and 0 sacks in 8 games before suffering a season-ending knee injury in November. He had surgery in December and is expected to be at full health for the start of the 2021 season. Over the past 3 seasons, Clowney has ranked 5th in the NFL with a pass rush win rate of 25%, according to ESPN Stats and Information. During that span, Garrett ranks 3rd at 26%. The number 1 overall selection by the Houston Texans. You messed that one up too, didn't you? In 2014, Clowney can play any position along the defensive front, which makes him valuable to teams wanting scheme versatility. He is a disruptive player as an interior pass rusher or coming off the edge. Clowney has 255 tackles, 75 for a loss, 86 quarterback hits, and 32 in his 7 seasons. Over his career, he has dealt with various knee injuries in addition to groin, elbow, back, and Lisfranc injuries. With all that being said, he has just signed a 1-year deal to the Cleveland Browns. First off, the first question I have to throw to you, Tristan. Will we see Jadeveon Clowney how we remember Jadeveon Clowney? Will we see him be able to pick it back up and these injuries not be holding him back any longer?
I watched that little presser that they had with him. And he's talking about I feel 100%, I'm gonna get myself back into where I was, and I'll have Myles Garrett alongside with me, and da. Now he's played this game for what, 7 years now? What is it, 7, 8 years?
Yeah.
You were the number 1 overall pick.
Yeah.
And you rattled off some of his stats. The one glaring stat is the sack total. In 7 years, You've had 32 sacks in 7 years. So you're a little over, what, maybe like 4 and some change in sacks? 4 and some change a year in sacks? Now, okay, if you only want to say 6, because he missed his rookie year. So we'll say 6 seasons. That's only 5 sacks. You talking about playing alongside Myles Garrett. You had J.J. Watt. You had a 3-time defensive player of the year in his prime. And you only amassed what? Well, I think one season he had 6 sacks. Another season he had 9. Another year he had 4. In that time with J.J. Watt, J.J. Watt was Defensive Player of the Year twice. J.J. Watt had a season where he had 22 sacks. He had a season where he had 20 sacks. He had a season when he had 16 sacks. So I'm trying to figure out, with a guy that's been playing, we'll say 6 years. We won't count his rookie year. For a guy that played 6 seasons and have literally averaged 5 sacks a year, who was the former number 1 overall pick, I'm trying to see where he said he's going to get back to form. What form are you looking to get back to? Now, I understand he's a 3-time Pro Bowler. He's productive. I'm not going to take that away from him. I mean, in the run game, he's great. He knows how to stop the run. You're not being drafted number 1 to just be able to stop the run.
So are you asking where has he been? For the productivity that's been expected, or the productivity that he supposedly says he's going to give or has given?
I'm not even saying where has he been.
You know, some guys that say they've given more. We haven't even talked about that little stint in Seattle.
I'm not even saying where has he been, because he hasn't. In order to ask somebody where have they been, that means they had to have reached some kind of place before.
Are you saying where have you been to match the people next to you?
Yeah, I'll say that. That the way I remember,
the double team you're creating doesn't exist when you've already had it before.
I remember him coming out of South Carolina, and everybody talks about the big highlight was the big hit he had on the Michigan running back, made the guy fumble the football. He gathered it and everything, rocked the helmet off. That was the highlight for him. But other than that, what has he done? When they say every player that's ever played professional, and they always talk about these kids getting drafted. We got the draft coming in a couple weeks. They talk about all these kids getting drafted, and they pick and pick and pick and analyze and analyze and analyze. Every player says, go look at the tape. Mm-hmm. What does the tape say? Other than that one highlight, what else can you tell me about Jadeveon Clowney when he was at South Carolina? Other than the one highlight. Exactly. Everything that happened, all accumulated to the highlight. It wasn't. He didn't have this stretch. I mean, I could listen. I got my phone. I mean, I could let me see if I'm wrong. You know, I mean, it's to me. Let's see. Okay.
Are you saying he shouldn't have been the number 1 guy?
That's exactly.
Are you going that far to say that?
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying. That's exactly what I'm saying. Because
you heard
he didn't warrant
Jadeveon Clowney shouldn't have been the number 1 draft pick.
He didn't warrant. Listen, he shouldn't have. He didn't warrant anything that wowed me to say, man, he should have been. I'm pulling up his stats. He played 3 years, right? 3 years. He had 85 solo tackles, 44 assisted tackles, 47 tackles for loss. I'm trying to see if they even tell me. Let me see that. He had 24 sacks in 3 years. So you average about 8 sacks a year. You had the one breakout your sophomore year. He had 13 sacks. Other than that, what else has he done? So
And it's crazy because when you say Jadeveon Clowney, when they've been talking about him, they say it like it's this profound, big defensive guy. And granted, his name merits respect, but behind that is, I don't want to say this. Behind this is mediocrity.
Yeah, let me be clear. I'm not saying he sucks.
No, because
I'm not saying he made the Pro Bowl 3 times. I'm not saying he sucks. I'm not saying he's a bad player. I'm not saying it's not a good piece to add, but it's just a piece. It's not the piece. It's just a piece. And so you're trying to convince me that because Myles Garrett is there, and listen, if he proves me wrong, all power to him. But right now, what you're trying to tell me is because now he's going to be paired with Myles Garrett. Now he's going to have a breakout year. He's going to be all world.
Because the problem was he was being double teamed his whole career.
But you had JJ Watt on the other side.
Okay, let's talk about this then. Because if you've been looking at the AFC, and it seems like with the Cleveland Browns, it gets interesting when they're doing good. And every year it seems like we're talking, well, in the next 2 years, the Browns will be this. On paper, they look like this. 2 more years. Give it 3 years. Give it 4 years. Those years are here now. Because it's obvious that the Browns have figured out something that has finally worked to put them in contention, and it's not even laughable. You're afraid to play the Browns now. You can't just go in there thinking this is going to be a hop, skip, and a jump. You're going to get on the plane, go home, and this is just something to eat real quick. No, you got to take the Browns seriously. Exactly. Shout out to Drew Carey. They rock now. So, and considering that, not only do they have 2 number 1 draft picks, they have 3 number 1 draft picks on their team. You're talking about Baker Mayfield. How will that look now? How are you looking at the Browns now? Should the Ravens be scared? Now.
It's going to depend on the only reason why I'm not going to say about the Ravens is because we got to see what goes on in the draft. Now, if the Ravens don't give Lamar Jackson a legitimate receiver, then we got problems.
You're not going Sammy Watkins?
He's not a number 1. He's never been. Even when in Buffalo, it proved he wasn't a number 1.
Yeah.
No. So,
did you lose him?
I mean, he'll be a good red zone piece. He's got some speed and stuff like that, but he's not the bona fide number 1. You still need a dog at receiver. But with Cleveland, not only do they have 3 number 1 overall picks on their roster now, but 10 players that are starters on their roster were all drafted in the first round. I think 3 of them are in the secondary alone. So it's a awesome roster. It's a great roster. They arguably got the best offensive line in football. You saw what Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt was able to do last season. I mean, it's really no excuse. So I mean, everybody should be circling Cleveland. Really, Baker Mayfield looked like he know what he's doing. The head coach looks like he understands Baker. We're gonna see what goes on with Odell. Don't be shocked, people, if Odell gets traded in the draft at draft night. Don't get shot because it looks like that just works. It's not to say Odell is bad because I would never say that. Some people just don't mesh well. You know what I'm saying? Like that, it happens. So I just think Baker's better off not having Odell being there unless they can find some new chemistry. I don't know, but you know, it's a great roster. I mean, it's a great roster. I can't even. Cleveland has come a long way. We have to put some respect on Cleveland.
You can take the beer out the cooler and actually drink it now.
Yeah.
It's not a bet.
No. What you saw, what they did last year, that's not a fluke. I think they're for real. They don't have to rely on Baker to be all world. They don't have to. You got a solid defense. You got a solid run game. Baker just got to manage the game. That's it.
As we conclude the second part of the Pat LaFontaine edition, thank you all for watching. Make sure you watch part 1 and 2, which will be on YouTube for you to follow and watch. Tell us what you think. We also need to pay homage to what is Jackie Robinson Day, as we all continue to thank him for not just changing baseball. That's one thing. Baseball, even in 2021, baseball is ever changing. We just saw what they did last week in the Atlanta Braves and not having the All-Star game. So we're continuing to try to change the landscape of Major League Baseball. And shout out to Mookie Betts and guys of that nature. We're continuing to change the landscape of baseball, which is continuously showing us that its forefathers were definitely racist. And we're continuing to try to change it. However, what this man did not only changed baseball to what we can actually get to see now, he changed the world. He changed sports. Always in 42. Shout out to Chadwick Boseman. Another same. You're not here because the way you played that, the way he played that was just. It's almost as if he went and talked to Jackie or something like that.
Fantastic.
He got it. It was right there. You can't. Legends are legends in any way. But shout out to 42. We'll always love you, baby. Long live 42. Tristan. I'm cherishing these moments because I know you're going to go soon. You know what I'm saying? But now the show's, not only do we have 2 parts, but it's shorter. And I'm crying on the inside. But you know, you'll be a couple months, you'll be back. But anyway.
I will. Promise.
I will see you. We will see you Tuesday. And I'm telling you, like I tell you every week, and I don't care if it does not rhyme, it's still mine. I am Mikkel, like Kevin McHale. This is part 2. Go back and watch part 1. America. Tuesday. Peace.
Peace.